So 5 stars for a good time. And I just always was like, eh. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books. Books that I really like in the year 2023. Normally I do kind of like a top 10, but I don't know. This year I had like a weird situation where of my ratings, my 5 and 4.75 ratings comes out to 9 books. And then my 4.5, there's like freaking 13. So I don't know. Do I want to do a separate video? I'll see how long I talk about the like top 9 and we'll go from there. There might be a second separate video talking about like almost faves. That's all my 4.5s, or maybe I'll just do it in this one. Whatever. At any rate, let's go. The 9 books that I rated either 4.75 or 5 stars this year. 4.75 is like you were so close. There's just like maybe something was a little off. So going in order, I went in order of like lowest, least fave of the faves up to most fave, with one little caveat towards the end. I'll explain. Starting at number 9, we have The Labyrinth of the Spirits by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is the 4th final book in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books series. Technically, they can be read as standalones. I wouldn't recommend, though. I recommend reading in publication order, and this would be the 4th one, the last one. And yeah, I reread the first 3 prior to getting to this one, because it had been several years since I read those first 3, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need a refresh. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this conclusion. It's way longer than the other books, but surprisingly, it didn't take me that long to get through. My average, like, days to read a book is 7, and this one took me 9. Like, I fully would have, I was expecting, I'm like, this is gonna be like a month-long read for me. 'Twas not, because I just, like, I didn't want to put it down. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The only reason it didn't quite get 5 stars is there was a little pacing issue in part of it, kind of like, I don't know, before the halfway mark, but into it a little bit, like maybe like the 20 to 40% mark or something, just where it was like a little bit meandering for a second. Fucking love this series though, like fave of all time series, 1000%. Speaking of, next, number 8 is The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is the 3rd one, or no, the 2nd one, I'm so sorry. This is the 2nd one in publication order, and yeah, just love it. Absolutely love it. This one, I would say, is 4.75, simply because this is the most, like, horror of the 4. It's all very, like, gothic, historical, creepy, eerie, dark, but also hilarious at times. But they all have like some kind of creepy eepies going on. And this one though, it's like psychological, thriller, horror. What is even going on? What is real? What's up and what's down? I don't know. The reading experience wasn't quite the same as the other books in the series for me. That's what it boils down to. It wasn't quite as like, oh my God, this is my favorite freaking thing. And I imagine also it's probably because the 2 books that I rated higher have way more of Fermin and Daniel. And Fermin is like my fucking fave. One of my favorite literary characters ever. I love Fermin. So that's probably why this one just wasn't quite there for me. There's like hardly any Fermin in this one, and hardly any Daniel also. Still 4.75. Almost perfect. And number 7, the final 3.75 book that I read and really enjoyed is actually nonfiction. And I haven't been like rating nonfiction, but I read a couple this year that I'm like, but like I want to because it was so good. And like, I think that it's just a lot of times nonfiction, while it can educate me and teach me something that I'm like, wow, that was profound, it just doesn't like, I don't know how to explain it, but basically I did read a couple this year that like did impact me, and I just felt like I wanted to rate them. So one being All the Single Ladies by Rebecca Traister, Unmarried Women and the Rise of an Independent Nation. I still have the goal of making an entire video about this and like really diving into kind of having a discussion about this book, because yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It did have information that like I wasn't aware of or whatever, but mostly it was just I felt very seen by so much of it, and I thought it was pretty well done as far as exploring the different identities of various women from various groups, socioeconomic classes and things. And a lot of the beginning was talking about like women's friendships and how important those are to us and how like crucial it is. And a lot of that also just was like, yes, yes to all of this. Yes, exactly. And it's basically just talking about how typically most Americans are getting married later in life. They're still getting married, but they're just waiting a lot longer to get married, and just how this has all come to be historically with like women gaining more and more rights, having the freedom, the freedom to choose what you want to do with your life and when you want to do it. Not feeling like we have to get married when we're 22 if we don't want to, if that's not really what we want for our lives, and like it's acceptable now and we can, and a lot more of us are choosing to wait, or circumstances make us wait, and it ends up being positive. And I don't know, I just really, really liked it. I thought it was pretty dang well done. So 4.75 there as well. This next one, number 6, we're getting into the 5 stars now. Technically, this was a reread, also, like The Angel's Game. I read it on NetGalley the year prior in 2022, but I did reread it this year, and it held up, and that is The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. And I got this edition that I just effing love. Oh my sweet baby Jesus. It's so pretty. I love it so much. It's a fairy loot one. But yeah, I just really had fun with this. I just thought this was a fun freaking time. The pacing was good for me. It's just very like adventure time. We're going on quests and adventures and whatever. And I liked the characters. I liked what we were doing in the plot. And yeah, it was just a fun time. It was just such a fun time. So 5 stars for a good time. The next 5-star, number 5 on my list of faves, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Are we seeing a pattern here? This one was a reread as well, but the first time I read it was 2014, so 'twas long ago. The first time I read this and the first time that I read The Angel's Game, I gave them 3 stars, and I don't know what the fuck I was on. I mean, it was 2014. It was, you know, almost freaking, well, now, 10 years ago. So 'twas a different person, I guess, and different reader. I think I was just mostly confused the first time I read them. And this time I kind of knew to expect that and just like let myself like be free to just like go with the flow and enjoy the weird ass gothic, thrillery, confusing sometimes weird ride we're on. And I did. I thoroughly did. I loved this so much. Oh my God, so much. And this is technically the first one if you read it in publication order. I love it. I can't even explain it. I feel like such a weirdo when I talk about these books, but I'm literally just like, it like moved me, and I can't explain why. Because there wasn't anything in these books that I was like, I feel seen. Oh, I relate to this so much. Just the writing is, I love it. It speaks to my soul, as all I can really say. I don't know. The next one, I do not have a physical copy of. I listened to the audiobook. It took me 12 years, but thoroughly enjoyed, gave 5 stars. Another nonfiction, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pappé, I believe is how the name is pronounced. Ilan Pappé is Israeli-born and a historian that went on to do all this research. And this is all about the initial Nakba in the 40s, mostly. Kind of into the 50s, if I remember correctly, but mostly like what was going on in the 40s and the initial ethnic cleansing that happened. And it was just, it's very academic, but I appreciated that because it was so informative. so informative. I highlighted so many things, like bookmarked so many things as I was listening to it, because like, oh, I want to remember that. Just very informative. I already had a little bit of understanding of the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, how it happened, but like minimal research, you know, watching some videos of people explaining the history and everything. So I was aware, and that's been in the last like couple years, since like what, 2021, 2022, that I like did that research. And I just, you know, with all of the events this year, the awful genocide that is still fucking happening, I was like, I want to do the deeper research finally and like learn about it. And it's like terrible. It's terrible. It wasn't like a fun read at all, obviously, but just so incredibly informative and illuminating. Yeah, it's fucking wild and sad. But I felt like it deserved 5 stars for being as educational and informative and enlightening as it is. Okay, we're down to technically the top 3. My caveat is, I'll just get it out of the way. When I'm like, I made this list is like favorite, like the book that just, oh my God, I love it so much, down to the one that I'm like, no, it was so great, but like, whatever. Obviously, number 1 is always going to be City of Girls. I don't, maybe not obviously, but since the first time I read it in what, when it came out, when did it fucking come out? I have the book plate in the hardcover. 2019. Since 2019, I have read this book every single year, and it's probably always going to be number 1. I don't know, maybe someday I'll find something to knock it off of its pedestal, but for now, it's number 1. So I put it in italics of like, I mean, City of Girls, obviously, but aside from City of Girls, the other 2 this year that I read that were fighting for like top spot after City of Girls. It was a hard decision, but The Battle Drum is technically, I guess, number 2. Number 3 if we're counting City of Girls. Number 2 if we're not counting City of Girls. By Saada El-Arifi. This is book 2 of the Ending Fire trilogy. And I loved it. I was very nervous. Saada El-Arifi is a newer author. The Final Strife was her debut, I'm 99.9% sure. And, you know, you never know. Are they going to write a great sequel? If you loved the first book, is the second book going to be as good? Or is it going to be very, like, middle book syndrome? Is the series kind of going to fade as it goes on? I don't know about book 3 yet, obviously, but book 2, for me, was not middle book syndrome at all. I fucking loved it. And I also buddy read it with Roger, which was fun, because we were sending each other messages, like, trying to figure out, like, the mystery that was going on, because we got so much more information in this book. And, like, I was taking notes. I was literally taking notes, like, trying to put the pieces together and, like, wait, I think I figured it out. And it was just so much fun. And even if I hadn't buddy read it with Roger, it would have been fun myself, like, doing the notes and everything. And I just felt like it was very solid. And number 1... or if we're counting City of Girls, number 2. This one's also a reread, though. So if we're not counting rereads, The Battle Drum would be number 1. But again, this was, the first time I read it was many moons ago, back in 2013. And that is The Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is the smallest one. This is the 3rd one that was published. And I love Fermin and Daniel and their friendship. It's one of them, like, I love their friendship, and I just love Fermin. And this is so much about Fermin, and I don't know, man. It's just, like, magical. This series, to me, is just, like, a magical experience. I don't know why. Again, I can't really explain it. I sound like a freaking weirdo. It moves me, is all I can say. I don't know. It's just the way he tells a story. Oh my God, it grips me by the freaking throat and does not let me go. So yeah, this was, aside from City of Girls, my favorite reading experience of 2023. This whole series really as a whole, but this book in particular is definitely my favorite of the series. And that's that for the top 9 or top 8, if we don't count City of Girls. It just wins by default, you know? And then I did want to also show my 4, I did 4 last year, so I'm doing 4 again this year. The 4 most surprising books that I read this year, and I will just pop it up here on the screen. The Briar Book of the Dead by A.G. Slatter. This is coming out in 2024, and it's I had the NetGalley e-arc, and I kind of just grabbed it like one of those, I could like it, maybe, like, it sounds like something I want to like, but I'm not super confident that I will like it. It's like witches, historical, sisters, family members in this like little village, and I don't know, there was mention of vampires, and I'm like, okay, no vampires in the book. I mean, there are, but like we never see them, we just hear about them, and they're over there in their own land doing stuff. And so I went into it like, I hope I like it, I want to like it, but I don't know if I'm going to. And I really liked it. It wasn't like 5 stars, like screaming from the rooftops, but I ended up giving it freaking, what did I give it? I don't remember now. Was it 4.75 or 4.5? I ended up giving it 4.25, which is a pretty high rating for me. So yeah, that one was very much surprising. The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. That is one that I hadn't really been paying that much attention to. And then Elle was talking about it, and she was like telling me about it privately, and was just like, I don't know, I think you would probably like it. And so I was like, okay, I'll pick it up, whatever. And yeah, really liked that one. I gave that one 4.5 stars. It's contemporary, and it was just so freaking sweet and wholesome and just like so cute. Oh my God. It made me tear up in the first chapter. I was like, oh my God, I can't. So very surprising there. Starless by Jacqueline Carey. This I did for one of my Storygraph recommendations, like vlog, like reading a handful of books that I got off of the Storygraph recommendations page. And yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised with this. It's a standalone fantasy, and there were some pacing things that kind of were going on, but overall, I really, really enjoyed it. And then The Diviners. This is, I put on the surprising list because it's another one that I gave 4.5 stars. This series has been around since I started booktube, and I just always was like, I don't know, it doesn't really sound like anything I'd want to read. People always just talked about like the horror element and like, oh, it's like very creepy, and like the audiobook, like genuinely kind of fucking scary at times. I'm a little baby with scary stuff, so I was just like, nah, I don't think I care, like it's whatever. And then like young adult, and I just always was like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like anything I care that much about. And then freaking Andrew over at Andrew Annotates commented on one of my videos where I was talking, I think I was talking about City of Girls and some other book, and how I like the kind of like flapper Prohibition era, like 1910s to like 1940s Manhattan historical vibes in books with like, you know, and I love a feisty main character, kind of coming of age, you know, out here doing their fun thing, like living it up, whatever. And he was like, oh my God, read The Diviners. Like, if you like all these things, I think you'll like The Diviners. And I was like, and he said City of Girls. He's like, if you like City of Girls, and those are the like some of the reasons you like it, I really think you'll probably enjoy The Diviners. And that sold me immediately, obviously. So I was like, all right. And I freaking had a great time with The Diviners. Oh my God, so much fun. So that one's surprising because I just kept like kind of brushing it off for years and years. So thank you again to Andrew for that. I think for the 4.5s, I'm not going to grab all the physical books, and I'm not going to like go in depth with them. But I did put them kind of in order of like, you know, least fave of the 4.5s up to most fave. So I'll just kind of go through that real quick, I guess, and just so you can see. At number, 13, I think I said there's 13 total, is Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey. Quite enjoyed it. Didn't end up enjoying the series, but that's neither here nor there. And then Lore Olympus Volume 3. Really enjoy Lore Olympus. It's cute. Middle West by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona. That was kind of surprising too. Graphic novel. Lore Olympus is a graphic novel. Everybody probably knows that. Then next would be Game of Thrones by George R. R. Martin. And then after that, Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. Once again, a series that, my God, as it went on. Starless is the next one by Jacqueline Carey. Then Blood Mercy by Vella Roth. Really liked that first book, man. The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. As I said, it was very cute, very heartwarming. The Holiday Trap by Roan Parrish, a reread that I just really enjoy that book. Then City of Mist by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is short story collection from the Cemetery of Forgotten Books world. One that I read very recently and I actually have not talked about in any kind of like a few reviews or recent wrap-up. It was a NetGalley arc and it's coming out in January? It's coming out in January, I'm pretty sure. Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. Really, really liked that. Will be purchasing a physical copy. And then The Diviners by Libba Bray. And the most favorite of the 4.5s, Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. That was book 2. I liked that one slightly more than The Diviners. There we go. There's all the books I rated quite highly this year. If you want to let me know if you read any of these, did you have similar ratings to me or horribly different? Like, comment, subscribe if you feel so inclined and have not already. As always, thank you so much for your time and I hope you all have a wonderful day and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.